In Shadow of the Erdtree, there is a sword that can be transformed into either the Sword of Darkness or the Sword of Light. You have to go and find 3 separate altars. One has the sword and 2 can transform it. I'm going to go through all these different locations in the order that I went through to upgrade this sword. So let's get into it. Now, like I said before, there are 3 altars. One has the sword and 2 transform this sword. The quickest way you're going to be able to find this sword in the first altar is going to be very early on in the game in the Fog Rift Catacombs. You'll get to a very particular part inside of this catacomb where you're going to come across this giant room where there are 3 giant spike traps that fall from the ceiling while you're getting attacked from a distance. And the location that I'm standing in, I'm not going through the entire catacomb so you can enjoy it, and this room is very hard to miss as you go through it. As you notice on one of the giant spike traps, there is a small hidden door that you need to jump into. Once again, this is not too difficult to get to because when you get to the area that you're getting attacked by the guy in the distance, where he is standing is where you need to jump. Now obviously from there, run across these 3 different spike traps and you'll see an opening on the right side of the catacomb. Once you jump down into the small area, you will actually see an interesting looking altar. For me, this was the first time I went to any of these altars, so it had the stone sheathed sword. This sword is critical for this side quest. Now this sword in its base form is absolutely useless. It's definitely one of the worst weapons you can get in Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, but the thing is, once you upgrade it, it turns into one of the more fun swords you can get in the game. Now the second easiest altar to get to is going to be right next to the castle watering hole site of Grace in the ruins of Erdtree. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, and let me quickly show you how you can actually get to this location because you have to go through the Shadow Keep to get here. So starting from the main gate plaza site of Grace inside of the Shadow Keep, you're going to go to a very particular pathing because it's very easy to miss where you have to go to get to this particular watering hole location that we showed just a second ago. Take the left that you see immediately inside of this area and go up all the stairs past all the different guards and black and gold knights that you come across. You'll obviously come across a giant open area, and your goal is to get to the other side where you see another set of castle walls while trying to avoid all the different assassins that attack you. You're going to be looking for a ladder that descends closer to the water that you see surrounding this entire area. It won't be too hard to find because you'll see a body with an item on it. That body is going to be right next to the ladder. Simply descend that ladder, head towards the waterfall, and you'll find another secret ladder that you need to descend again. From here, it'll look like you entered into a sewer area. One location is going to have a dead end, but the other one's going to open up a room with a painting, and you're going to have a false door, false wall right next to you that opens up to even more of the sewer area. Keep moving downwards, and soon you're going to come across a coffin that you need to jump into. Once the coffin ride is over, simply go to the open area that you see through a doorway, and on your left will be a site of grace. That is the site of grace we want to start at. Now that you have the site of grace, simply go towards the giant ruins that you see right in front of you, and that's going to be the ruins of Erdtree. This is the location that you need to get into one of 2 ways. The first issue that you quickly see is that there is a giant furnace golem in front of here that you need to wake up by throwing in a certain pot. This pot is called a hefty furnace pot. And now of course you're going to need a new cookbook that can be found in Shadow of the Erdtree to actually make these furnace pots, and thankfully it's found very early on. Right next to the giant bridge in the rundown Traveler's Rest is going to be a burnt up shack. You'll actually end up finding this cookbook that you need to make these furnace pots. Again, like I just said, it's very easy to get to, and it'll have some of the necessary ingredients to make these pots already in the shack. All you have to do is throw those new pots into the top of the furnace golem. It will wake up and then the entrance will be opened up as you see on my side. But there is definitely an easier way if you don't have the cookbook or don't want to wake up another furnace golem in the area, where you can do a small jumping puzzle with Torrent to get into the back of these ruins. Now it's not the easiest jumping puzzle, but it's also very doable if you're lazy like me and don't want to go all the way to another location just to come back and try this jumping puzzle. You jump onto this pillar here and you'll see the back end is crumbled down. All you have to do is jump on the middle of this pillar and you'll be able to jump onto another small lip. From that small lip, you can somehow, some way have a double jump with Torrent that will get you into that broken area. No matter which way you get into the secluded area, you'll want to go to the right of the church that you see, and of course you're going to see a very familiar altar. Now when you first interact with this altar, it's going to ask you a very simple question. Do you want to raise the stone sheathed sword to the dark? And once you soon say yes about this, it'll actually turn the sword into the Sword of Darkness. Now as you can see, the Sword of Darkness is on a whole different level than the sword we started out with, and I think it's a fantastic weapon, especially when you take a look at its unique Ash of War called Darkness. It also scales really well when you level it up, but I'll go into more final details at the end of the video. The third and final altar, and definitely the farthest away altar inside of the actual progression of this map, is going to be in the ancient ruins to the west of the Shadow Keep after you go across a giant bridge. Now, following the pathing that I'm showing you as quick as you possibly can and as smoothly as you can, because there's a lot of different enemies that try to attack you. You'll very quickly come across a stone door that you need to open that will take you down past some of the spider scorpions, which again is an absolutely horrifying enemy in my opinion. Continue down, you come across another set of doors that you need to open, and you'll also come across a spirit jump that you need to jump down onto. Go toward the hallway with the statue and take a left and follow this path until you get outside. You'll be greeted by a crucible knight with a giant hammer. You'll also end up seeing a cross and another site of grace right next to it. This location is going to be called the Rao Ancient Ruins East Site of Grace. Now from here it's a very straightforward path, and you have to jump across the two bridges. You'll come across another furnace golem you can either ignore or fight, and you'll come across another site of grace for the West Ruins. Now from this side of grace you want to follow my pathing as well, because it's a very particular set of pathing. You'll have to go across an invisible bridge. So the pathing can be a little difficult only because there's a lot of different ways to go when you first get to this location, so it's easy to get lost. As you saw, you want to make your way through the first section of the ruins until you get to this little watering hole, and soon you'll come across all these different Scarlet Rot enemies which shoot you from a distance, and you'll remember them from the base game as being one of the more annoying enemies you come across. Make your way through this small hallway and you're going to come across an area that looks like it's an empty space, but it's truly just an invisible bridge that brings you to the Altar of Light. You'll be able to tell by the coloring that you see on the altar. Now from here you're of course going to want to go and interact with the altar and change the Sword of Darkness to the Sword of Light. Now the nice thing is the levels that you put onto the sword ahead of time do not change and do not come off anytime you upgrade and change the sword's aspect. Now of course the numbers have changed since I have the Sword of Light at level 9 at this point, but what I'll focus on is actually the Ash of War that it has called Light. Let me show you here in just a second what both of these unique Ashes of War look like on the particular swords that we're talking about. Starting with the Sword of Light, since we're already on that sword, as you can see, as soon as you use the Ash of War, it summons a bunch of different beams right in front of you that kind of scatters around. It's a wonderful area of attack move, and I use it a lot when I'm going against a bunch of different enemies, but I think personally I like the Ash of War for the Sword of Darkness a lot more. Now very similar to the light beams, this Sword of Darkness spreads a giant field of darkness around you. Now it doesn't hit everything that it touches, it usually only hits something once, but when it does hit it, it hits for a lot of damage, which is why I like it a lot when I'm facing off a large group of enemies as well. Now a unique difference that we can see between the two swords, the Sword of Light temporarily boosts one's holy attacks, when if you look at the Sword of Darkness, it deals holy damage but also temporarily reduces holy damage negation. So a little bit of a difference between the two blades depending on how you want to fight with them and which one you want to actually use. I also want to quickly mention that it depends on the order that you show up to these altar, that it depends on what shows up. So for the example, I went to the third altar that is farthest away, that gave me the Sword of Light. If you came to this location first, it should give you the stone sword. I haven't been able to test it, someone can correct me down in the comments if this is incorrect. But overall, those are all the 3 different locations you can go to find these altars and get these 2 amazing different swords. I hope you guys did find this location guide helpful. If you do, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.